that time of year again. The nights are drawing in, it's getting wetter and colder, and the prospect of getting out on your bike is not quite as fun as it was in the summer. With this in mind, it's time to talk about turbo trainers. A good turbo trainer can make an indoor training session almost a pleasant experience and can provide the best basis for a good structured winter of training. But there are so many on the market and at such varying prices. So what do you get when you compare a budget with a premium turbo trainer? We've got two of the latest turbo trainers from Elite to make this comparison. At the budget end, we have the Novo Force. This is $164.99. And yes, there are cheaper turbo trainers on the market, but we feel that this provides all of the key features you need for fully functioning training. At the top end sits the Drivo 2, Elite's flagship smart turbo trainer. At a penny shy of £1,000, you can buy a full bike for the same price, but this provides a complete training environment worthy of any pro or amateur cyclist. Now, all of the turbo trainers and accessories you see today can be purchased on freewheel.co.uk, your way of conveniently buying online but still supporting independent bike shops. We'll put links to the trainers and further details about them in the description below. So let's take a detailed look at both these trainers. So at the budget end, the majority of the turbo trainers tend to have an A-style frame. And this is really convenient because it means it folds and folds down nice and neatly. So if you only want to use it occasionally, then this is perfect. So they just fold down like so, and then you can put it out of the way. What this also means is, from a practical point of view, if you do a bit of racing or want to do some warm-up at a race, then a budget turbo trainer like this is really easy to transport and to take with you. It doesn't need to be plugged in, and you can just ride wherever you want. When it comes to connecting your bike to it, the majority of them are designed first and foremost around quick release wheels. If you run a disc brake bike with through axles, the majority of the main brands now are doing adapters that will allow you to run that with a budget turbo trainer, but you will have to purchase those separately. In terms of the size of the bike you can fit onto a turbo trainer like this particular one, and a lot of the turbo trainers like it, will take anything from a 24-inch BMX all the way up to a 29-inch mountain bike. So you will cover pretty much all of the bikes that you have yourself. The majority of the budget turbo trainers will also rely on you keeping your rear wheel in. So it runs on a roller at the back of the turbo trainer that attaches and touches your rear tyre. If we look at the premium end, then you can see that there are big differences here. The majority of them tend to be much bigger units, heavier, and even though some like this Elite Drivo 2 do fold, they do take up a lot more space. So if you have a more permanent space for training, or you do a lot of training, then this will be left set out. Most premium turbo trainers will come with adapters to allow you to run not only quick release wheels, but also through axle disc brake wheels as well. You'll also notice that it doesn't use a roller at the back. This is a direct drive turbo trainer. So there is a cassette on here, so you remove your rear wheel to ride this turbo trainer. The majority of these direct drive turbo trainers are compatible with all 9, 10 and 11 speed Shimano cassettes, or with adapters Campagnolo cassettes as well. So you basically just put your bike on here. There are a lot of advantages for this system that we'll talk about shortly. So all turbo trainers work on resistance and adjustable resistance to allow you to create that training element to your riding. At the budget end of the trainer range, most rely on friction between your rear tyre and a roller that's attached to the turbo trainer to provide that training resistance. It then uses magnetic resistance to be able to adjust that. Now, some like this Novo Force have an adjustable handlebar mount, which allows you to actually adjust the resistance yourself, whereas others just have a single level of resistance that you can use, and it's very, very simple. When you have adjustable resistance, it means you can basically train to a session, so you can either make it easier or harder depending on what you want to do. Now, there's really positive benefits for using this system. It's very, very simple. It means you don't have to worry about taking your rear wheel off. The only thing you need to be aware of is obviously it will wear your tyre if you do it very, very often. Now, some like this Elite have a elasto rubber on the roller, so this will create better contact with your tyre, but also should reduce the amount of wear on your tyre as well. What all the turbo trainers will then have is a large flywheel. So like this big silver disc here, this creates a much smoother movement, so it allows the bike to feel a bit more like riding a normal bike. The flywheel size depends on the turbo trainer you buy. The bigger the flywheel, the more resistance it can create and the smoother the ride feel. One of the things about it is the amount of resistance that can be created is not quite as much as you will find on a more premium turbo trainer. So some like this will create up to about 690 watts of added resistance, which for most of us is more than enough for creating a perfect training session. But if you're bigger and much more powerful, then you might find you'll overcome this quite easily. So you might need to go for a more powerful turbo trainer or one that uses the better direct drive system. The benefits to this system mean that first and foremost, you don't have to use your rear wheel, so therefore you do not wear out your good tyres, but also it has immediate pickup, so it basically starts working straight away and there's no power loss through friction that can be found through the roller and tyre combination here. And it's very accurate. By that, I mean it can measure power. The majority of premium turbo trainers have power measurements built in. It too, like most of the budget turbo trainers, uses magnetic resistance to create that training element. However, how it's applied is very, very different. In a direct drive version like this, it has a much bigger flywheel inside and it's electronically controlled. So it means that it can be adjusted automatically without you needing to do anything whatsoever, which really comes into its own when you're following very structured training sessions and when you're using these in conjunction with third-party apps like Zwift or Sufferfest. If we're looking at the amount of resistance that can be produced, ones like this Drivo 2 can produce over 3,600 watts of added resistance, which is more than enough to cope with even the best world-class sprinters. They also can simulate slope. So by this, it can adjust the resistance to make it feel like you're climbing. And with the Drivo 2, this can simulate slopes of up to 24%, so very, very steep slopes. Okay, let's get these set up and see what features they've got and how they feel to ride. But first, I need to get changed. So setting up the basic turbo trainer is actually very, very simple. Just put it on and then click the roller in place so it's actually touching your tyre. But the one thing you'll notice is it does raise up the rear wheel a little bit. And it's the same for all budget turbo trainers of this style. So what that does is it means that you will need something to actually raise your front wheel up to keep things as level as it can be. So something like this riser block here can be adjusted and basically it sits underneath your front wheel to keep your bike level at all times. So instantly when you're on this bike, you know you're riding a turbo trainer. There is a bit of noise, so all budget turbo trainers, because of the friction, do create a bit of noise. So be aware of that and be aware of where you're actually riding. It has adjustable tension, as we said before. There's 8 different settings, and at the moment I'm in the first setting, so the easiest setting here. But the one thing about a budget turbo trainer is, apart from this, you don't really know how much resistance you're getting. So you're reliant on external measuring devices to be able to do that, either power meters or at least a speed and cadence sensor. If I adjust the tension, number one, nice and easy, nice and spinning. As I move up, you feel a little bit of difference, but when I get to 4, you can feel and you can hear the difference there as well. And then if I move even further up, then by 8, it gets very, very hard. Now, the one thing then to be aware of is obviously you need to make sure that your turbo trainer is set up properly onto your tyre, otherwise you will get a bit of slip in. But in this case, you can feel this is a real workout. So this is 690 watts of extra resistance going through, and it's quite hard. Because most budget turbo trainers tend to be a bit more practical and fold away, then they're not quite as stable as the more premium versions. So you need to be aware of that. Then, and out at the saddle, you can see there's a little bit of movement around on here. So you might find that gets a bit unstable if you're doing lots and lots of very, very hard efforts. So the first thing you notice when you're on a turbo trainer like this is the lack of noise. A direct drive turbo trainer tends to be a lot quieter. So if you want to get away with training in the middle of the night or at quiet times, these are a great choice. It's very stable to use. If you want to do a really hard session, those big wide legs and the heavy weight of it means that it's very, very stable. So you can really get in and out of the saddle and there's very little movement at the back. So because they use Ant Plus or Bluetooth technology, so something that most people have, then it's really simple to use it to connect to your devices. I've got my Garmin here and I've got it set up straight away. Very, very simple to do that. And it gives me all the information I require for when I'm riding. Or as you can see, got it connected to my laptop here with Zwift. Using Bluetooth means there's no cables, very, very simple. And then you can see that everything that I'm doing on here is being translated to my avatar on screen. Now I'm cheating here a bit by using London as my Zwift, so it means it's nice and flat at the moment. But if you were to go on to some of the other courses, I can see I'm actually coming to a hill now. This is getting harder, and it automatically adjusts that. And the best thing is, it does it without you even realizing. So it's just like you're riding outside. But for now, I'm just going to have a little bit of play on Zwift. So to sum it up, the more money you spend on a turbo trainer, the better and more useful it becomes as a regular training partner. With more realistic ride feel, better power and resistance accuracy, and that all-important interactivity. We hope this has helped to clarify some of the key differences between budget and premium turbo trainers. If you've got any questions about turbo trainers or training in general, please put them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and more importantly, click that notification button to keep up with our latest releases.